Security rushed toward the elderly woman before she could finish her sentence. "Ma'am, you need to leave. Right now." The plastic food container in her hands trembled slightly. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," she said softly. "I'm only here to see my son." A few employees slowed down to watch. The young receptionist behind the front desk folded her arms and smirked. "Your son works here?" "Yes." "And what's his name?" The elderly woman smiled. "Daniel." The receptionist let out a laugh. "Of course it is." More employees turned their heads. The woman glanced around uncomfortably as whispers began spreading through the marble lobby. None of them knew they were about to make the biggest mistake of their careers. 24 hours later, every employee in that building would be sitting in stunned silence, staring at a giant screen, wishing they could take back what they had done. But at that moment, nobody knew who she really was. Nobody except her. And she wasn't planning to tell them. Margaret Williams woke up before sunrise every morning. At 68 years old, she still followed the same routine she had kept for decades. She made her bed, watered the flowers outside her small house, said a short prayer, then headed to the kitchen. That morning was special. Her son had been working non-stop for weeks. She had called him the previous night. "You sound exhausted." Daniel laughed through the phone. "I am exhausted. Have you been eating properly?" There was a pause. "I plead the fifth." Margaret shook her head. "That means no." "Mom. I'll bring you lunch tomorrow." "You don't have to." "I know." Daniel smiled. That was his mother. She never did things because she had to. She did them because she cared. The next morning she prepared his favorite meal from scratch. By the time she finished, the kitchen smelled wonderful. She packed everything carefully. Then she looked at a framed photograph sitting on the counter. It showed a much younger Daniel standing beside her. Back then they had almost nothing. She had worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table after her husband died. There were nights when she skipped dinner so Daniel could eat. Nights when she cried herself to sleep worrying about rent. Now her son ran one of the biggest technology companies in the country. But despite the success, he still called her every day. And she was proud of that more than anything else. Margaret grabbed her handbag and left for Harrison Technologies. The company's headquarters towered over the city skyline. People in expensive suits filled the entrance. Luxury cars lined the curb. Margaret stepped out of her taxi carrying the food container. She smiled. Daniel is going to love this. Inside, employees hurried across the lobby. Nobody paid attention to her at first. Then she approached the reception desk. The receptionist looked up. Vanessa Clark. 28 years old. Ambitious. Sharp. And unfortunately, extremely judgmental. Her eyes immediately traveled over Margaret's simple dress and worn handbag. The smile vanished from her face. "Can I help you?" "Yes, dear." Margaret placed the food container gently on the counter. "I'm here to see my son." Vanessa typed something into her computer. "Do you have an appointment?" "No." "Then you'll need one." Margaret nodded politely. "I understand. Could you please call him and let him know I'm here?" Vanessa sighed. "And your son's name?" "Daniel." "Daniel who?" "Daniel Harrison." Vanessa stared at her. Then laughed. Actually laughed. "I'm sorry. Daniel Harrison. The CEO." "Yes." Several nearby employees overheard. One of them chuckled. Another shook his head. Vanessa leaned back in her chair. "Ma'am, Mr. Harrison is currently in meetings." "I know he's busy." "Then why are you wasting everyone's time?" Margaret blinked. The word stung. "I only wanted to drop off his lunch." Vanessa glanced at the food container. "His lunch?" "Yes." The receptionist exchanged looks with a nearby coworker. Both laughed. Margaret felt her cheeks warm. "I don't understand what's funny." Vanessa's smile became colder. "You seriously expect me to believe you're the CEO's mother?" I am. Right. Margaret stood silently. The lobby seemed much quieter now. More people had started watching. The attention made her uncomfortable. She wasn't used to being the center of anything. I'm telling the truth. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Look, we've had people come in here claiming all sorts of things. Friends of celebrities. Long-lost relatives. Business partners. But I really am. Enough. The sharpness in Vanessa's voice made several employees glance over. Margaret tightened her grip on the food container. For the first time, she considered leaving. Maybe she should just go home. Maybe Daniel was too busy anyway. Then she remembered how tired he had sounded on the phone. She tried once more. Could you please call him? Vanessa's expression hardened. No. The answer landed like a slap. Margaret stared at her. Why not? Because I have actual work to do. Around them, employees pretended not to listen while clearly listening. One even pulled out his phone. Margaret swallowed hard. She had never felt so embarrassed. Yet she remained calm. I don't want any trouble. Then leave. Vanessa pointed toward the entrance. And for the first time that day, Margaret's smile disappeared. She looked at Vanessa for a long moment. Not with anger. Not with resentment. Just disappointment. I hope nobody ever speaks to your mother the way you've spoken to me. The words were quiet. But they landed harder than a shout. For a split second, Vanessa's expression shifted. Then her pride returned. Security. 2 guards stationed near the elevators immediately turned. Vanessa pointed toward Margaret. Escort her out. Several employees exchanged uncomfortable glances. One young intern looked as if she wanted to say something. But nobody did. Nobody stepped forward. Nobody questioned what was happening. Margaret lowered her eyes. There's no need for that. Then leave. The guards approached. One of them spoke gently. Ma'am, we'll walk you outside. Margaret nodded. It's all right. She picked up the food container. As she turned away, she heard someone laugh. Another person muttered something she couldn't quite make out. The sound followed her all the way to the entrance. The glass doors closed behind her. And just like that, she was gone. Back inside, the excitement faded quickly. Employees returned to work. Vanessa adjusted her blazer and sat down. To her, the matter was finished. Just another strange visitor. Just another interruption. She had no idea her entire career had just changed. Across the city, Daniel Harrison ended a meeting with investors. The discussion had lasted nearly 3 hours. His phone was filled with missed notifications. As executives gathered their documents, Daniel stretched his shoulders. Anything urgent? He asked his assistant. She checked her tablet. Nothing major. Daniel nodded. Then frowned. His mother usually called him around lunchtime. Every day. Without fail. Even if it was just for 30 seconds. Today there was nothing. No message. No missed call. No voice note. Something felt off. He grabbed his phone and dialed. The call connected after a few rings. Hello, dear. Her voice sounded normal. Almost too normal. Hey, Mom. How was your meeting? Daniel frowned. You tell me. What do you mean? I thought you were coming today. A brief silence followed. Not even 2 seconds. But Daniel noticed. He always noticed. Oh. Mom. I changed my mind. You changed your mind after cooking for 3 hours. Another pause. Daniel sat upright. What happened? Nothing happened. Mom. I'm fine. The answer came too quickly. Daniel stared out the window. When he was 12 years old, his mother had hidden tears after receiving an eviction notice. When he was 17, she had hidden fear after losing her second job. When he was 25, she had hidden grief after surgery. Every single time, she used the same voice. The voice she was using now. What happened? He asked again. Margaret sighed softly. It's not important. It is to me. Another silence. Then she finally spoke. I went to your office. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. And? The receptionist didn't believe I was your mother. His jaw clenched. Then what? Daniel. What happened? She told him everything. Not dramatically. Not emotionally. Just the facts. The laughter. The insults. The security guards. The humiliation. The employees watching. The refusal to make a simple phone call. By the time she finished, Daniel's face had gone completely still. The kind of stillness that usually appeared right before major decisions. Mom. Yes. Why didn't you call me? I didn't want to bother you. His eyes closed. Even now she was thinking about him. Even after what had happened. They escorted you out. It's all right. No. His voice hardened. It isn't. Daniel. No. For several seconds neither of them spoke. Finally Margaret broke the silence. Promise me something. Daniel already knew he wasn't going to like it. What? Don't ruin anyone's life over this. He exhaled slowly. I'll handle it. Daniel. I said I'll handle it. After hanging up, he sat motionless. Then he pressed a button on his desk phone. Within seconds, his chief operating officer entered. You wanted to see me? Daniel looked up. I need security footage from the main lobby. The executive blinked. From today? Immediately. Less than 20 minutes later, Daniel was sitting alone in a conference room. The footage played on a giant screen. At first he watched calmly. Then he saw Margaret enter. Still carrying the lunch she had made for him. Still smiling. His chest tightened. He watched Vanessa laugh. He watched employees gather. He watched people smirk. He watched his mother stand there trying to remain dignified. Then he watched security escort her outside. The room became completely silent. Daniel replayed the footage. Then replayed it again. Each time he noticed something new. A manager laughing. An employee recording on a phone. Several people doing absolutely nothing. That realization bothered him most. Not the receptionist. The culture. Dozens of people witnessed someone being humiliated. Not one stepped forward. Not one. His phone rang. It was his mother. He answered immediately. Daniel. Yes. You're not doing anything reckless, are you? Despite everything, he smiled slightly. No. Good. I'm doing something thoughtful. Margaret wasn't sure that answer reassured her. After the call ended, Daniel stood. He looked through the conference room glass toward the busy office floor. Employees worked normally. Conversations continued. Coffee machines hummed. Nobody knew what was coming. He picked up his phone. Schedule a mandatory company-wide meeting tomorrow morning. His assistant sounded confused. For everyone. For everyone. What's the topic? Daniel looked once more at the paused footage of his mother standing alone in the lobby. Then he answered. Respect. The next morning, rumors spread through Harrison Technologies before sunrise. Employees whispered in hallways. Managers checked messages repeatedly. Nobody could remember the last time the CEO had called a mandatory company-wide meeting. Something unusual was happening. By 9 o'clock, the auditorium was nearly full. Hundreds of employees filled the seats. Vanessa sat near the front. She adjusted her jacket and smiled. Maybe a major announcement was coming. Maybe promotions. Maybe expansion plans. Maybe something that would help her career. Around her, conversations buzzed with excitement. Nobody noticed the giant screen behind the stage. Nobody noticed the remote control resting on the podium. And nobody noticed Daniel standing backstage, waiting for the meeting to begin. In less than 5 minutes, an entire room full of people was about to discover exactly who the elderly woman had been. And the truth was going to leave them speechless. The auditorium lights dimmed. Conversations faded. Every head turned toward the stage as Daniel Harrison walked out. The room immediately fell silent. Daniel wasn't smiling. That alone made several executives uneasy. He stood behind the podium and looked across the audience. Hundreds of employees looked back at him. Waiting. Expecting. Curious. For a few seconds, he said nothing. Then he spoke. "I want to ask everyone a simple question." The room remained silent. "How do you determine a person's worth?" People exchanged confused glances. Daniel continued. "Is it their job title?" Nobody answered. "Their bank account?" Still silence. "The clothes they're wearing?" A few employees shifted in their seats. Daniel nodded slowly. "Interesting." He stepped away from the podium. "Yesterday, someone visited this building." Vanessa's smile disappeared. A strange feeling settled in her stomach. Daniel looked toward the giant screen. "Many of you saw her." The feeling grew stronger. "Some of you laughed at her." The auditorium became noticeably quieter. "Some of you joined in humiliating her." Vanessa felt her throat tighten. Daniel pressed a button on the remote. The screen came alive. Security footage filled the room. A collective gasp spread through the audience. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Everyone watched. There was Margaret entering the lobby. There was Vanessa smirking. There were employees gathering. There was the laughter. The mocking. The insults. The humiliation. From the front row, Vanessa stared at the screen in horror. Watching it happen again somehow made it worse. Much worse. Several employees lowered their eyes. Others froze completely. One manager visibly winced. Then came the moment security escorted Margaret outside. The footage ended. Silence. Absolute silence. Daniel looked across the room. You all saw what happened. Nobody disagreed. Because nobody could. The evidence was right there. Then Daniel delivered the sentence everyone would remember. "The woman in that video was my mother." The room seemed to stop breathing. Shock exploded across hundreds of faces. Vanessa's complexion drained instantly. Several employees covered their mouths. One executive muttered, "Oh my God." Nobody had expected that. Nobody. Daniel let the silence linger. The weight of the revelation settled over the room like concrete. Vanessa felt her pulse pounding in her ears. The elderly woman. The woman carrying homemade food. The woman she had mocked. The woman she had thrown out. The CEO's mother. She suddenly wished the floor would open beneath her seat. Daniel stepped forward. "Do you know what disappoints me most?" Nobody dared answer. "It isn't that someone failed to recognize my mother." He paused. "It's that people believed she deserved less respect because they assumed she had no power." The words hit harder than any shout. Employees shifted uncomfortably. Several stared at the floor. Daniel's voice remained calm. "If my mother had walked in wearing designer clothes, would she have been treated that way?" No response. "If she arrived in a luxury car, would anyone have laughed?" Still silence. "If everyone knew who she was, would security have been called?" The answer was obvious. And everyone knew it. Daniel nodded. "Exactly." Vanessa felt tears forming. Not because she had been caught. Because she suddenly saw herself clearly. And she didn't like what she saw. She remembered Margaret's words. "I hope nobody ever speaks to your mother the way you've spoken to me." The memory felt like a knife twisting in her chest. Daniel looked directly at the audience. This company was built on innovation. He paused. But character matters more than innovation. His eyes moved across the room. Respect matters more than profit. Another pause. And kindness matters more than status. The auditorium remained completely silent. Halfway through this story, if you've ever been judged unfairly or stood up for someone being mistreated, don't forget to like the video and tell us your experience in the comments. Stories like this remind us how much small actions matter. Daniel continued. I spent most of last night reviewing footage. Several employees stiffened. And I learned something important. He looked toward Vanessa. Then toward the audience. This wasn't one person's failure. Confusion spread across the room. Many had expected Vanessa to be fired immediately. Daniel saw it on their faces. He shook his head. This is a culture problem. More silence. One person was rude. He pointed toward the screen. Dozens watched. Nobody could argue with that. Daniel returned to the podium. Effective immediately, we're launching a new leadership initiative. Employees exchanged uncertain looks. Managers sat straighter. What kind of initiative? Someone whispered. Daniel answered. For the next month, every manager and executive in this company will spend time working entry-level positions. The room erupted with murmurs. Daniel continued over the noise. Reception. More whispers. Customer service. The murmurs grew louder. Community outreach. Employees stared in disbelief. Then came the announcement that stunned everyone. Vanessa Clark will be reassigned to the customer service training program effective immediately. Vanessa lowered her head. No arguments. No excuses. No complaints. For the first time in years, she genuinely believed she deserved the consequences. Weeks passed. The change wasn't easy. Vanessa spent her days helping frustrated customers. Listening instead of judging. Serving instead of commanding. More than once, people dismissed her. More than once, customers spoke to her harshly. And every single time, she remembered Margaret. Slowly, something changed. The arrogance faded. The entitlement disappeared. The experience humbled her. One afternoon, she helped an elderly woman carry paperwork to her car. Another day, she spent an hour assisting a confused customer everyone else had ignored. People began noticing. Not because she talked differently. Because she acted differently. Months later, Daniel received reports showing improved employee satisfaction throughout the company. Complaints had dropped. Teamwork had improved. People were treating one another differently. The culture was changing. Then came the day Vanessa requested a meeting. Not with Daniel. With Margaret. When Margaret arrived, Vanessa stood immediately. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry. Margaret remained silent. Vanessa took a shaky breath. I judged you. Another breath. I humiliated you. Her voice cracked. And I hurt someone who showed me nothing but kindness. Margaret looked at her for several seconds. Then smiled gently. The same smile she had worn that day in the lobby. I forgive you. Vanessa broke down crying. Not because she deserved forgiveness. Because she hadn't expected it. Several weeks later, Margaret visited headquarters again. This time the atmosphere was completely different. Employees greeted her warmly. People smiled. Doors were held open. Conversations stopped to welcome her. Near the reception desk stood Vanessa. When she saw Margaret, she immediately walked forward. Good morning, Mrs. Williams. Margaret smiled. Good morning, Vanessa. No tension. No bitterness. Just mutual respect. From a nearby hallway, Daniel watched quietly. His mother noticed him and waved. He walked over. Looks like things have changed. Margaret looked around the lobby. Then she nodded. Yes. Daniel smiled. Mission accomplished. Margaret laughed softly. Not quite. What else is there? She looked at the employees moving through the building. People never stop learning how to treat each other better. Daniel nodded. As they walked toward the elevators, employees stepped aside respectfully. Not because she was the CEO's mother. But because she was Margaret. And that made all the difference. Before this story ends, subscribe for more powerful stories about justice, redemption, and second chances. And tell us in the comments, if you were Daniel, would you have fired Vanessa immediately, or would you have given her a chance to change? Because sometimes the greatest punishment isn't losing a position. It's being forced to face the person you've become. And sometimes the greatest victory isn't revenge. It's transformation. The true measure of character is revealed by how we treat people who seem unable to offer us anything in return. That was the lesson an entire company learned from one elderly woman carrying a simple homemade lunch. A lesson they would never forget.